Hi, welcome to Quilted Cactus. Today we are going to do a tutorial on the Celine. It's a Boston style bag. This is by Bloomin' Needle. This is an adorable, cute little bag. And it's a different construction that I've done. I mean, it is a bound bag, but there's a little bit different construction on the inside that I've done that I haven't done. So it was something new to me. I didn't have really any difficulties except for when I put the bag together. Its only difficulties is because it's tight. But without further ado, we are going to go ahead and show you my cute little Celines. Here is my tester bag. There you go. Let's pull it for the front. It features buckles on the front and a nice simple back. There is no exterior pockets because it is a small bag. It is absolutely adorable. You can use it as a handbag alone, or if you choose, you can do a crossbody. There is D-rings on the side to make it a crossbody strap. The interior, you can do a double zip like that for your bag. And then it's just got a very cute on the inside. It only has it has a lining pocket. I'm sorry, a slip pocket. Sorry about that. So it features a slip pocket, and this slip pocket does fit a phone. If you don't want to drop your phone in the bag, this will fit a phone. And then it also features a zipper pocket as well in the bag. And it is still roomy, even though it is a cute small bag. It is still plenty of room to put a full-size wallet in it. And all your essentials that you need. And again, it's a nice compact little bag. Let me show you the other one. You can obviously make it in one solid color, like I did with this beautiful red. Or you can mix it up a little bit. Ta-da! And do two different colors, and I chose, you can do two solids, but I chose to do this really cute butterfly print, and then accent it with some spruce color green on the gussets, as well as the base and the handle and the straps on the front of the bag, the connectors I should say. But this is an absolutely adorable bag. Let's show you the inside. This is the one that we're going to do in the tutorial, is the cute little butterfly one. And then I did a real nice, just a simple lining in this one. And then I got a cute floral print for my slip pocket. But this is, again, I can show you, it is a bound bag. And you're only binding around from here over to here. Well, let me reword that. What you're binding is you're going to do like a full loop around the base, all the way around the top, back around the base and the top again. You do not bind down at the bottom of the bag, only around. You can see where the binding is on this bag. You just kind of loop around like that on the binding. So again, that is the most difficult part, is the binding of the bag. The longest part that it takes to sew is getting the buckles put on, sewing the prep of the straps, and sewing doing all the buckle work on the front. It's not difficult. It just, of course, is time consuming whenever you do any type of hardware or straps, strap connectors, things of that nature. But other than that, it's really, really simple bag. It doesn't take a long time to do. I can tell you from start to finish in my tutorial, this is uncut. It took me about 4 hours. That is uncut as far as sewing this bag up. And that's doing a tutorial. And anybody who's done a tutorial, it always takes a little longer to sew on a tutorial because you're talking through it and you're showing things. So this is definitely an afternoon sew. You could, if you want, and it is up to you, you can change out, instead of using buckles, you could do a straight strap, both the front and the back, if you don't want to do buckles. You can also, and she has D-rings on the front, or with your handle, well, she calls them short straps, but with the little straps here and where it connects to the buckle connector, you could do a decorative, like a rectangle ring or something decorative here if you want, rather than just simple D-rings. D-rings, like I say, are simple and they're cheap. So if you're looking for an economical way of constructing, you can always eliminate the buckles and just do D-rings all around. It still would be cute because you can always feature a print and it doesn't have to be about the buckles. But you got to admit, the buckles are very cute. It makes it kind of look like a little suitcase type of carrier is what that reminds me of. So anyways, oh, measurements. I do want to let you know the measurement of this little bag. It is 10 1/4 inches wide, 5 1/2 inches tall, and 4 inches deep. So again, it's a really cute bag. Also, with this pattern, she does give you a bonus. I apologize, I have not had a chance to make the bonus one. I ran out of time, but the bonus one you can see is a little taller than this one. So if you're looking something that has a little more height to it, the bonus edition would be fantastic for that. It's the same width, it's just a taller bag. And she just kind of threw that in there because when she was designing the bag, she wanted to go ahead and throw a little extra in her pattern. So this was part of her design process, and everybody gets a win-win on her design process, which is great. That is fantastic for Phoebe to throw that in there. Not everybody does that, and that's just a great thing. Okay, so everybody, hang in there. Let's get through this bag. And I did want to mention that I do have a separate cutting video, and that goes over the pieces and how that they work in your bag. I go over hardware, what we're cutting, as well as, again, where each, how she labels them and where it fits in your bag. So if you are needing that, I did that separately. So when we go straight into the video, we do not go over pieces at the beginning of the construction tutorial of the bag. All right, so let's go ahead and get ready and get started, and I will see you when we get ready to put the bag together. Thanks so much. Bye. Okay, so now we're going to get right to it. We're not going to go over pieces. I do have a separate cutting video for this bag, and in that video I go over pieces and about where it goes on the bag. So in case you want to do some design, different designs or something, that video will help you out, or if you need to know where certain pieces go. So we are going to actually start on page 9, step 3. Steps 1 and 2 go over interfacing, installing purse feet, and which is very self-explanatory. Step 2 is constructing the crossbody. It is a webbing. She does write it as a webbing crossbody strap. I'm not going to go over doing that. It is it's very explanatory in the pattern. We are concentrating on the construction of the bag itself in this video. So starting on page 9 at step 3, it is constructing the short strap, which is the handle, and we went over that in the cutting video. But the short strap is the handle of the bag. So you're going to grab your short strap. You're going to make markings on the end that she gives you on the measurement she gives you. You're going to make a mark. And then you're also going to go down through the center of your strap and go all the way down with a mark. And then you're also going to go ahead and make a mark at the other end. So both short ends will have that marking, as well as through the center of the strap. Then you're going to place double-sided tape, or if you choose clips, you can do clips to the center, or you can do 1/8 of an inch on each long edge. But you can do 1/2 inch tape down the center line of the strap, and then go ahead and remove the tape from there. And then what you're going to do is you're going to fold your long edges to the center line of the strap. And they're going to actually have them meet, because you're not going to fold it again on itself. So you will make it meet. The ends will not be stuck down. You will be sewing this together with the other side. So just go ahead and make the folds to the line here. I just leave, although my tape starts here, I do kind of leave that open a little bit. It just makes it a little easier to fold this in. So I'm going to go down, fold both sides to the center line where the long edges touch each other. And then once I get this completely done, I will be back. Just make sure when you do this step, don't stretch or pull on this step, or your fabric, I should say, materials, especially if you're using a softer, stretchier material. That can cause wrist, shoot, I can't talk. Sorry. That can cause your strap to be a little twisted and distorted a little bit. So you just want to be careful as you go down the line. So I'm going to get the other side done, and then I'll be right back. So I've got everything folded to the center. Like that. Again, like I say, the long edges are touching. And then my both ends are open. They are not folded in yet. Again, I just left it open a little extra. It just makes it a little easier for the next step. So once you get that done, you're going to grab 2 D-rings. So grab 2 of your D-rings. Well, okay, and then what you're going to do is on one of the short ends, you're going to go ahead and place both of your D-rings. Now, there is a specific way that your D-rings need to set on this handle, but I will do that step once I get ready to sew this to complete the strap. Because it's just easier for me to do it that way, because it's going to get twisted and turned anyways. So I will adjust these in the correct positions. She just has you on step 11 explain to you the exact position, but I'm going to adjust mine once I'm ready to sew the strap together. Okay, so once you get your D-rings on, you're going to take your short ends and put them right sides together like this. Okay. And then I'm going to throw a couple of clips to, on the short ends of the strap like that. And then I'm going to sew this along here at the seam allowance she gives you to close it off and make it a circle. Just don't forget the back stitch at the beginning and the end. Okay. So that's what we got right now. Again, we've got, it's a nice little circle. We've got our D-rings kind of dangling there. And then once you do that, I'm going to get some double-sided tape, and I'm going to finish up taping on these parts that didn't get taped earlier. It's easier for me to set the rest of the strap. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little more double-sided tape on here. And then I'm going to open up my seam like this. Well, let's remove the backing first. It helps a little bit. So I'm going to remove my backing, and then I'm going to open up my seam. I got that a little too long, but I'll make the best of that. Okay. Open the seam up. I can get a hold of it. There we go. All right. And I'm going to place the steam down so it sticks to that double-sided tape, because since I put the double-sided tape right up to the seam. And then since I made this a little too long, we're going to work, now we'll just do it that way. All right. And then I'm going to go ahead and place another piece over top where my seam is open. I know it's kind of overkill, but it helps to make it to lay better. And then I'm going to take that backing off of that, like that. So it's all double-sided tape throughout. So that way when I fold all my edges in, everything's nice and secure. And then I'm going to go ahead and open it up. And then I'm going to finish off folding everything to that center line. I'm going to snip these little corners. I mean, just the tiniest little snips. So that way when I fold it to the center, it doesn't butt up against each other and cause extra bulk. And again, this is just tiny snips. This isn't in the pattern, but I found that when I folded everything in, these little peaks will cross each other, and that extra bulkage. So I'm going to fold these in like that. And then I'm going to fold the other one in up to that line. And because it's really thick, I'm going to grab me a couple of clips, and I'm going to hold that there with clips. Let's see. One of my other ones broke. Let's grab it. I'm using the plastic clips because they open up a little wider rather than my little tiny ones. I'm just going to kind of work with it to make sure everything looks good. Grab another clip and hold that in place. There we go. And then I'm just going to finish off the rest of the strap and make sure everything is nice and folded into each other, not into each other, into the line. You just kind of work with it a little bit just to make sure it looks good. Because if you're off a little bit, it can cause like a bulge or a it'll kind of peek out, and your strap will look a little uneven. Okay, make sure everything looks good. So you've got it all in like that. There's where the seam's at. So I just got a couple clips for where the seam's at. That's what it looks on the inside. So it's all completely folded in, and you're still on the wrong, you still have it wrong side out. So once you do that, you're going to take your D-rings and put them in the right position. And the way they are is the way it needs to be. Well, you want to make sure the curved edge is on the, make sure, let me reread just real quick. The curved part of the D-ring should be on the wrong side. So you want your curved part on the wrong side of the strap. So there's the wrong side. There's my seam. There's the curved part of the D-ring. I have the flat side of my D-ring on the finished side of the strap. Okay? That's the way you want it. And then what you're going to do, let me turn this one. Then what you're going to do, where you have the seam of the, when you sewed the strap together, what you're going to do is you're going to put one of your D-rings up near that, but not on it. I like to try to keep it as close as I can, as long as it is not a ½ inch or more, because when you sew the strap together, your stop point is at a ½ inch. And you obviously do not want to sew on that seam, like in the middle of that seam, to hold your strap together. And also, it's neater if it is closer to the D-ring versus outside of the D-ring when you put your strap in. Let me show you. I do have one strap already prepared, and I'm going to show you what I'm referring to. So here is the other strap that I've done. See how the seam is there? It's closer to the D-ring, and then my stitching that puts the strap together is right close to it, but not on it. So that way it is closer to the bag, and it's a little more hidden than if it were up here. It would be way more noticeable. Okay, I hope that makes sense. All right, my strap is starting to come. So, with all that being said, my D-ring is in position right here. I'm just going to do a little fold like this just to hold it for a quick second. And that's all I'm going to do right now. And then I'm going to go fold it right side out. And then I'm just going to go like this to where the other D-ring is on the opposite end. So it looks just like this. Okay. Let me see if I can hold it out. So there's the actual, what you're looking at. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is you can clip it or double-sided tape it, and I am going to double-sided tape. I'm just going to let you know ahead of time. If you are new to my channel, I use a lot of double-sided tape. I like the way it holds my pieces, and yeah, it's my favorite. So I'm going to grab my double-sided tape. You always have the option of clips, other forms of doing this. So I'm going to unclip this side because I know that's where my placement is. I'm going to take my tape, lift it up, and then not like touching it, but about little more than a half of an inch away, maybe 3/4 inch away from that. I'm going to lay my, oh, that's too thick. Sorry, too thick. We don't want to interfere with the stitching. Let's go with 1/4 inch, not ½ inch. Woo. All right, let's do this again. So where my D-ring is, where my D-ring's going to set, I'm going to go about 3/4 inches away from it because our turn point is going to be a ½ inch away from the D-ring. So I'm going to go about 3/4. That is my safe zone where I should not hit this double-sided tape when I do my turn point. So I'm going to just go down the line, and I'm going to do the exact same thing on this side. I'm going to stop about 3/4 inch away. Make sure you try to stay to the center as best as you can if you're using this, because when you top stitch, you obviously do not want to hit it with your needle. It could cause skipped stitches. It could cause your needle to get gummy. So you do want to try to avoid it. All right. Make sure my tape is secure. I'm going to remove the backing off of my tape. Get my D-rings back where they belong. And then see, I'm going to take this D-ring here. This is one end. And I'm just going to tighten it, pull it tight. And then I'm just going to hold down my materials here, my strap, top of my strap. And then I'm just going to go along the sides with my fingers and feel the sides. And then just kind of press it down to hold it still when I top stitch. Again, I'm just kind of running my fingers down the side just to keep everything straight and no puckers, no, not going off to the side. And if you fold this into the center to the line well, you shouldn't have any peaks out. So then I'm getting down to the other D-ring. I'm going to pull this tight, go down and press down like that. So this is what you got for your, what she refers to as your short strap. So this is where you're at. Get my rings out of the way. And then once you get that all together, you're going to top stitch. You're going to go a ½ inch away from the D-ring. I do start here. And I will back stitch because my thread matches my vinyl very, very well. And you won't really notice the back stitching on this. But you can pull your threads through since this is not real noticeable. You can either pull them through to the other side, tie them off here, or pull them to the other side and pull them through here and tie the knot off down inside. And then you can tuck it and hide it inside of the strap. That is completely up to you. I'm back stitching, just letting you know. Anyway, so I'm going to start a ½ inch away from the D-ring. So 1/8 inch away from each of the long sides. Come here, pivot, ½ inch away, and then go all the way back down and then meet back up to a complete rectangle. No stopping or starting at any point. You're going to make a full rectangle on this strap. So I'm going to go ahead and get this sewn on. Once I get this sewn on, I will be back. Well, I'm going to fast forward through that, and then we will move on to attaching the buckle connectors. Again, make sure your D-rings is in the right position before you do this, because it will be harder to turn these if they're not in the correct position. Side note, you can use rectangle rings if you want, or any kind of other strap connector, because this basically will hook on to the buckle connectors on your bag. So you can use a different type of connector for this part of the bag. It just depends on what your look you're going for, or what you have. I don't have any D-rings and 3/4 inch D-rings for in nickel. So I did not have 3/4 inch rectangle rings or any type of decorative strap connectors, or I would have probably used something a little different just to make it, you know, cute, make it a little cuter. So this is what I'm using. And D-rings are cheap, so that's cost-effective type of thing if you're looking for that. Okay, here we go. Okay, there is my short strap right there. So look, that's really nice. I've got, this is going to be, there's your seam. And this is going to be the back side of it. When it goes on the bag, it'll be like this, so you won't see that seam. Okay, just make sure when you place it on your bag, it's in the right placement. And because I messed up on my tester bag, I didn't pay attention, and one of my straps, this is in the front of the bag. I don't like it, but it's, you know, it's okay. All right, so now we're going to grab our front panel, and you're going to grab the buckle connector pieces. Now I have already installed one on the bag. Well, it'll show you what we're working on, as well as the speed up time, so we're not doing it twice in the video. So you're going to grab your front panel, your buckle connector pieces, and both of your buckles. Okay, let me grab my buckle connector pieces. I covered up what I wrote as what the pieces are, so I have to look. I grabbed the right one. Yay. Okay. Buckle connector piece. And then I'm going to grab my buckle, my other buckle, but you will have, you know, you will do both of your buckles and both of your buckle connectors at the same time. All right, I'm going to set that aside. Hang on to this. You will need this as well. So I'm going to grab this. Now, the buckle connector piece, you will mark the centers of each of the piece. And then if you use double-sided tape, you'll do that in the center. And then what you're going to do is you're going to do the same thing as you did with the short handle. You're going to fold your long edges in up to the line, both sides, and then you will make sure that your long edges touch each other. No gaps in between. This will touch the bag. It will not be seen. Okay, you're going to do that to both of your pieces. Okay, I'm just putting light pressure. I am not pulling or stretching on this. All right, so once you do that on both of these pieces, let me look. You're going to place a hole. You're going to get your hole punch. And then place a hole at one of the ends at the seam allowance, at the measurement she gives you. I'm so used to saying seam allowance, at the measurement she gives you. Okay, here's that. So let me make a mark for that. You're going to center that placement of the rivet. Let me just make sure I've got it straight. There we go. So at that measurement she gives you, I drew a little dot there. And then I'm going to punch a hole there. This is where the stem of the buckle is going to go through. Make sure you can see the dot that you draw. There we go. All right. There you go. You got your hole in your center of your buckle connector. And then you're going to grab your buckle and put your buckle on. How you want to do your buckle. So here's the front of the connector. You're going to and this is the, how would I say? I'm going to use resting place for your buckle, the way your buckle stem rests, like that. You're going to feed your buckle. I'm going to hold my buckle in this direction with my stem in its natural position, meaning that's where the hook of the buckle, see how it's got a little bit of a hook? That's where it rests there. So I'm going to take the buckle itself, the buckle connector, and I'm going to feed the buckle connector straight through the top of the bar here. And then this is the short end. This is the end where I punch the hole. So there's like a longer, you want to put the longer edge where the hole is at on the back. Feed it through. Take your stem, push it up through the hole like that. Okay. And then go ahead and feed the other end through the rest of the buckle. And then, so you want to make sure the bar of the buckle is on the wrong side. And then you've got that where the bar, so the bar's upside down right now. So what you're going to do is, and then you're going to make a, take this and fold this piece down to where it folds right on the bar, meaning it's going to rest. You're going to take your little stem and pull it to where it belongs on the bar. So see how it's got the hook? I'm going to take that, push it down to where it's in its little resting, I call it resting position. And then pull it down like that to where it's folded over the bar, and you've got your back like that. Okay? So this is the way it looks from the top. And your buckle is in its correct position like that. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put a little bit of double-sided tape. You can clip, but again, I'm going to double-sided tape right here. Do not go all the way up. You're going to be punching holes, and then that's going to interfere with trying to get a rivet through and punching holes. So I'm just going to put a little piece of double-sided tape here to hold this down. So when I do any other measurements and get ready to set it down, this is not going to make, try to mess me up. So I'm going to get a little bit of double-sided tape on that. I'm just going to use 1/4 inch just on the end. Just like I say, this is just to hold it down. So I got to make another measurement and so on and so forth. All right. So there we go. So there's the tape, there's the buckle, and this is the way it should look at this point. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some more double-sided tape. I'm going to go just a little bit up here, not too far, but I'm going to take it down to the bottom and stick some double-sided tape like that. That will hold this still when I put it on the front panel of my bag. Once you do all of that, on the pattern, she gives you buckle placements for the buckle connector and then the top connector placements. So you can take and lay this down on your piece like that. I'm using, now she shows you with tape because if you don't have an air erase pen, you definitely don't want to write on it. But since I do have an air erase pen, I'm going to write on this. It'll just disappear. But if you don't, she uses tape in her pattern to draw the line, and then she just peels the tape off when she makes the placements, which is a great idea, honestly. All right, so this is the placement for the buckle connector. So I'm going to take and I'm going to remove the backing, and then she gives you the placement to set the bottom. So I'm going to go over the amount of inches that she tells you to place the bottom connector. Let me do it this way. There we go. All right, so I'm going to take it, line this up with the bottom of my panel, make sure it stays straight, and then make sure my buckle connector lines up with that line. It is a little too high, so let me measure down a little more. All right, and then let's scoot this over some. So what you're doing is you are measuring the top where that line I just drew. You're going to make sure that's where your buckle, the fold, where that stem comes out, is resting. And then at the measurement she gives you, you want to make sure your buckle lines up straight. And since this has a curved edge, you're measuring from that point of the bag. Right here on this little corner is where you're going to measure in from for your measurement of to place your buckle connector. Let me set that down. So I went from here, I put the corner of my ruler at that measurement, and then rested and used this line as my straight line, lined it up here with that line I drew, and then placed it down. And now it hangs over just a little bit, which is fine. This part is the most important. If this hangs down, that's something you can clearly snip off. Now I'm going to take this and I'm going to sew it up, and below the buckle, she gives you a measurement to stop at. I'm going to go up, sew over, and back down. That will place the connector on. We will eventually put a rivet on, and the rivet will go above that stitching where the buckle is. So that will help reinforce it. Plus, it also gives a nice look. I like the looks of rivets on bags. All right, so I am going to start. Let's see, I'm starting at the bottom. And then I'm going to go up and over. Clean. And there is my front panel with both of my buckles on. Isn't that cute? This is such a cute print. I love it. All right. Now what you're going to do is you're going to get your top connectors. Grab my top connectors. So I got my top connectors. I'm going to take one of my top connectors, and then actually what I should have done with the top connectors is leave part of this marked where just like the short straps. However, I can just fold it and leave this open. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to do the exact same thing as you did this. You're going to fold these to the center, but you're going to leave the short ends open. You're not going to fold this in yet. So I'm going to go ahead, fold, just go down about 3/4 to an inch below the short ends. That will keep that that'll make it easier when you sew those short ends together, because you will be sewing the short ends together, just like the short handle. All right, like that. And then once I do that, I'm going to take my short handle, my short strap, and I'm going to feed this through the short strap. Keep in mind of your placement, let me find it, of where your seam is. You want to be careful. My suggestion to you is when you're feeding the first strap through, do that one first. That way you don't forget when you feed this through. Again, I accidentally messed up on the first one. I wasn't paying attention. So I'm just letting you know, do that first. That way you don't forget and mess up and have the seam on the front of the bag. So you're going to take the top connector piece, feed it through the straight edge of the D-ring on just one end of the on one end, because remember we've got one on each end. Feed this through, and then what you're going to do, I'm going to do it wrong. I'm going to turn it to where the wrong sides are out right now, because I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to put these together, the short ends together, and I am going to sew them. Sew the short ends together just like we did the short strap. And I got tape, so I'm going to have sticky tape as I sew along, but that's okay. We should be fine. If I go fast enough, this tape won't matter. That's good. That's fine. It all worked out. All right. And I want to do the same thing. I'm going to snip just the very, oh, my snippers are not cutting very well. All right, so I'm just going to snip off just the tiniest little piece here, just so they don't hit each other when I fold all this up. Open up my seam. Grab me some double-sided tape. That not only helps when you fold it in and it keeps your placement, when you do these seams, it also helps hold that open when you put that double-sided tape. It keeps that seam open. It assists you. So you're going to take that and then fold it all in just like you did. Some clips to hold that. When you have the thicker materials are very nice when you make a bag, but sometimes you just kind of got to work with it because this solid is a very nice vinyl and it is a thicker vinyl as well. And as I said at the beginning on my introduction of the bags, I do have a description of what these materials are as well as where I got them from. So if anybody is interested in any of these materials that I have, it's in the description. And I always like to list my materials because I know when I watch other people make bags, I'm like, oh, where'd that come from? That's pretty. There's a lot of things I've bought because I've seen it on videos. All right. So now that I've got it all together like that, I'm going to turn it right side out like that. Okay. Remember, watch your seam. There's my seam. There's my seam. You're going to do the exact same thing. Let me go ahead and get these off. I'm going to throw some tape. I'm going to match the seams to make sure they're on both on the same side. Kind of work with it a little bit. Stretch it out. Like that. I'm going to put a clip here. Yeah. I'm putting a clip here. And I'm going to put a little bit of double-sided tape. Now be careful. I'm going to put some double-sided tape, but see how this end has nothing on it? And it doesn't look like it's going anywhere? This is the end that feeds through the buckle. So I'm going to put some double-sided tape, but I'm going to stay about 1/4 to 3/4 of an inch away from this end because when I sew, I'm going to sew across that straight folded edge. And of course, I do not want tape in the way because I don't want to risk skipping stitches because that will be visible on the front of your bag. So keeping that in mind, I'm going to throw me some double-sided tape on this piece here. If I can get a hold of it. I mean, you can do this wrong side out, but this should be fine as long as you're careful when you place your tape. Again, this just holds it still when I sew it together. That way I don't run the risk of shifting. If I clip, it always shifts on me because I have tried to do it without double-sided tape. But my piece always shifts and then I get upset. All right, so just kind of stretch it out, making sure it looks nice like I did. All right. Like that. So there it is. Again, this is not connected to anything yet. It's just a nice clean folded edge, and then I've got both of my seams on the same side, which will be the back. I'm going to clean up this end here because this is going to show. I like to take my flathead and just kind of make sure there isn't any folds inside of this. I just kind of clean it up a little bit. All right. Now what you're going to do, once you do all of that, you're going to go ahead and sew a rectangle on this piece here. Completely close it up with the rectangle. Again, remember, stitch about a 1/2 inch away from the D-ring, and then go all the way down to an 1/8 inch away from the folded edge here. So you're just going to go 1/8 inch all the way around. All right, there we go. So this is my top connector, short strap, and then we got the other end. So we are going to repeat the exact same thing on this end of the connector. And then once I get that other side completely done, I'll be right back. I'll just fast forward through that. I didn't do this part ahead of time, my second step of it, because I didn't want this whole thing to look completed when we did the tutorial. So I'm going to go ahead and complete that on the other side, the exact same thing of what I did. And then once I get that completed, then we will attach the strap, short strap with the top connectors to the buckles. Okay, so I got the other end on. Just one thing to keep in mind is make sure your seam on your top connector is in the back as well, that it matches all there. I only repeat this because I've been there, I've done that, and I'm just making you aware of that situation. Okay, so this is what my strap currently looks like. We've got it on the D-rings. The curved edge is on the short strap, and then the straight edge is on the little top connectors. So now once you get the top connectors done, she gives you a measurement. You're going to make a rivet hole for your stem of your buckle to go through. So she gives you that measurement. So go ahead and mark that. Make sure, of course, it's in the center. Like that. Let me make sure it's at the right, yeah. So I'm going to mark that one, and then I'm going to mark this one. And you're measuring up from that folded edge of the top strap. Like that. My hole punch. Make sure you can see what you're doing. Oops, make sure it's centered the best you can, that you can see. All right. Okay, so I've got my holes punched in my little top, or these are called, yeah, top connectors. Got the hole punch in both of them. And then what you're going to do is you're going to place these through the buckles. Now she gives you placement of the top connectors, meaning the placement that she gives you on the pattern where it says top connector, that is where this folded edge here should rest. So I'm going to go take this, I'm going to feed this through where the buckle, top of the buckle, up through this, behind that stem, get it through there. It may be, depending on, I've got a curved edge on this buckle, so I just kind of have to like squish it through. But if you've got a 90-degree turn versus a curved turn, you shouldn't have any issues on getting it through. I just have to. All right, going to feed that through where the hole is. Put the little buckle stem through that hole. Kind of tighten it, pull this up a little bit, the top, little tot, like that. And then feed the rest, the other end of that folded edge, back down through the bottom of the buckle, just like, you know, you're doing a buckle. Pull it through. I just kind of tighten it, not tighten it, just be careful. If you're going to pull taut a little bit, hold on, I'm just going to hold it on. And then make sure this top rounded edge rests on that line. And I think I just wiped the line off, but that's okay. I think I see where it's at. All right. So you're going to let it rest on that line like that. Kind of flatten it out a little bit. I'm just going to push down where the buckle's at. That's how I'm going to do it. And then you're going to place a rivet up through the top here of the top of where the buckle's at. That's going to hold this on to the front panel. So I'm going to make the hole for my rivet. First, I'm going to put it on the strap. I'm just going to push it down and hold it. Oops. Trying to think here. Will that work? Yeah. And you're going to go above the stitching. All right. So I've got a placement on this. What I'm going to do, this makes it a little easier. You really don't want to punch the hole through both pieces at the same time, because that could cause this to slip or mess up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place the hole through the strap first. So I'm just going to lift it up, place the hole, punch the hole through the strap. Like that. And then what I'm going to do, first make sure the hole is clear. I need my awl. Where's my awl? I don't have, there it is. I just had to find my awl so I can poke through here to make sure this is clear and goes straight through. I do need to repunch. It didn't go all the way through. My thing where my hole punch goes needs to be replaced. There we go. So I'm making sure it's clear, because I'm going to make a mark on the vinyl from here. Now you can use a marking tool. I'm not lucky because these holes, like I say, my holes don't cut very well because of my tool needs the plate on the tool. This part needs replaced, or I need a new one. Okay, so I'm going to push this back down to know exactly where it's going to rest. So I'm going to hold this down, and then I'm going to take my awl, and then I'm going to go through that hole and mark my front panel. And I'm just going to go through a little bit so I can see it well. You may be able to see better than I can, but I'm getting old. So there's my placement right there. I've got a little dot, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this guy out of the way and then punch that hole. Let's see, there it is. I just got to be very careful where you punch. Make sure you punch it in the right spot. There we go. And do that. Now, depending on the thickness of your vinyl, and I'm just going to say this. This is a thin vinyl. It's just a thin marine vinyl. I do have Decaville light on there. I am not secure that it's not going to be a good hold. So I'm going to put some extra Decaville. I've just got some strips here of Decaville. And this is actually some Decaville heavy. I am going to go ahead and put a little extra between my rivet and the panel on both sides, because again, this is a very thin vinyl, and I feel more comfortable doing that. But if you've got a thicker vinyl with the Decaville light, you shouldn't have any problems. And that didn't punch all the way through. No, it did. That's right. That's a different. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to get my rivets. Make sure the size of rivets you use is appropriate. You don't want to go too long. Now I'm using a little bit of longer stem because that's what I have. And I've got the extra thickness here. So that'll work for me. But she does have the recommended size of rivets in the pattern. So I'm going to grab me just one. I don't know why I'm dumping them all out. Yeah, these I'm using right now a little longer than recommended, but I've got a little extra bulkage I'm going to put. So I'm going to install my rivet. There's that. And then I'm going to go through my panel. And then grab my extra piece here. And cap it. And then I'm going to install this rivet. I do use a rivet press. This is like one of the first big investments that I made when I was getting serious into bag making. If you can afford one, I highly recommend it. If you do a lot of bags, I highly, highly recommend a rivet press. Mine is Cam Snaps. You can see on the side it's Cam Snaps. She's out in California. They will work with you. If you're not sure what you need, they will work with you. All right. And also Jess from Okla Roots. Her YouTube channel is Okla Roots. She does have a tutorial. You'd have to find it, but it's a Cam Snaps tutorial. She works with them she does advertise for them, but she goes through a rivet press and a recommended package and everything. So just thought I'd throw that out there. All right, so that's installed. I'm going to do the exact same thing on this side, like that. And that will be the front panel of our bag. Isn't that so cute? I love it. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing here. All right, there we go. That is the front panel of the bag. Isn't that adorable? All right, so now we're going to move on to the back panel of the bag. I'm going to go ahead and do a quick pause, and then I will be back, and then we will work on the back of the bag. Okay, so we are back. Now, what we're going to work on is the back connectors to the back piece of your bag. Now, I've already got the one installed to show you this is what we're going to be doing, and also, of course, to save some time. And then, so what you're going to do is you're going to grab your back connectors, and I'm going to draw a line in the center of each of the pieces, just like we did all the other connectors. And then we're also, again, going to fold these in to the center line. Both sides are going to get folded to the center line, and your long edges will touch each other. So that's what you got for your back connector. And then what you're going to do is she gives you a measurement to make on the wrong side of the connector. Let me get my ruler. I just had it. There we go. Sorry about that. All right. So I'm going to get a measurement, make a mark at the measurement that she gives you. Okay. Like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed one end of the D-rings, or it's the straight edge of the D-ring. Again, make sure that straight edge is exposed, and the curved edge of your D-ring should be in the short strap. All right. So I'm going to take this, and I'm going to feed this in, the D-ring, on the end that has the mark. So like, here's my mark here. And I'm going to feed it this way in the D-ring, and I'm going to feed it where this is the front of my strap. Make sure your strap's not twisted, but this is the front of my strap. I'm going to feed it in this way in the strap, and then I'm going to take this and I'm going to fold it down to meet that line. Now, you may want to put a small piece of double-sided tape. I'm just going to grab my 1/4 inch, and I'm just going to put it on the very end, probably maybe a 1/2, 3/4 inches of double-sided tape. And that's just going to hold that still until we get it situated. So I'm going to go ahead and put my little piece of tape here. You can clip it and hold it. Again, fold this down to meet the line. Oops, my D-ring's wanting to turn a little bit. There we go. I think I made it just a little, so make it just about a 1/2 inch. You don't want your double-sided tape to interfere with your D-ring, or it won't, you won't have that flexibility. It won't move a lot, and it won't be flexible as far as shifting around on your bag. Okay, so you're folding it to that line like that. And then what you're going to do is I'm going to grab some more double-sided tape. And I'm going to put some double-sided tape just about a half of an inch, a quarter to a half of an inch from this short edge here. And I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom. And this will hold the strap on the bag when I do the top stitching. Like that. Okay. So that's what I've got so far. Now, double checking. Okay. So once you do that, you're going to take this here like that, and then you're going to measure in just like we did the front. She gives you that measurement, and you're going to go in from this corner here. So you want to line your ruler up from that corner. Like that, and then you want to go ahead and remove your double-sided tape and place your strap flush up against that and line it up. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm just going to move this up a little bit just to make sure it's kept straight. There we go. Like that. And then you're going to top stitch this strap on the bag. Now, as I said, I've already got this side attached. So you've seen me attach this side. So all you're doing is bringing your short strap completely around the bag, and it's like the front, except of course the back doesn't have the buckles. And I like that. I like that the bag is defined front and back by whether it has the buckles or not. Now, of course, you don't have to do buckles. You can do this way on the front as well. That is, of course, completely up to you. Making sure it looks straight. It kind of looks a little crooked, but I think it's because of the angle of the bag. All right, I'm going to go ahead and top stitch this. And I got to get my mark where I'm going to stop. There it is. I'm just looking for my air erase marker. So I'm going to make my mark where I do my turn and cross over that strap. All right, so let's get it top stitched. There you go. There's the strap. Now I went ahead and put a little rivet on my strap. That is not in the pattern, but you can do that. I like it, gives that reinforcement, as well as it gives a little bit of color or something a little extra onto the bag. So I'm going to go ahead and install me a rivet. I just go approximately 3/4 down, or I just really kind of center it on this, because you can feel where the strap is folded under. I make sure my rivet is placed kind of centered where my strap goes under, because if you can see where the strap ends here, that's folded under, I just center the rivet on that part of the front, so it's kind of holds that. So I'm going to go ahead and get this rivet set, and then once I get the rivet set, we will then work on the gusset and base of the bag. All right, so now we are going to work on the zipper gusset. And basically it's not like a placket. It is, it will get sewn to your side gussets. So, because again, this is a bound bag. Let me get my zipper. Let me get these out of the way and get my zipper tape cut. Let's see, okay. I do cut mine just a tad bit longer because it's a zipper gusset, so I can adjust accordingly. There's my scissors. I'm just trying to find my zipper scissors here, just a second. Ugh. I can snip the ends off. Sometimes I just like my zipper just to be a little bit longer, to have that workable space there, I guess. I don't know what you could say. All right. This put back. Okay, and then I need my zipper pulls. Now I am using 2 zipper pulls. I think I like the look of the 2 zipper pulls on this type of bag. So I am using, but of course, if you only want to use one, obviously, feel free to just use 1 zipper. Okay, so I've got my zipper tape. I have 2 zipper pulls, and then I'm going to grab one of my mid gusset. Yes, it's called a mid gusset piece. 1 exterior, 1 lining. Okay, I'm going to take these other pieces, set these aside because I will get to these in just a quick moment. Now, at this point, you could go ahead and put your zipper pulls on if you want to. I typically wait until I have this completely put together. As long as I don't sew the ends of my zipper, I'm good. I don't need to put this on until I start assembling the gusset. That is just my personal preference. Okay, so I'm going to get my 1/8 of an inch double-sided tape. Get my stuff out of the way here. And I'm going to put double-sided tape on the straight edge of the gusset, zipper gusset. Now, there is a curve here, so make sure when you put your tape on, you're using or put on your zipper tape and or double-sided tape. Make sure you're putting it on the straight edge of the zipper gusset piece, or mid gusset piece, I should call it. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on both my exterior and my lining piece. And you are going to put it on the right side, but on both pieces. Okay, so I've got my pieces with my double-sided tape. I'm going to take my zipper tape, take it and put it right sides together to my exterior piece. So let me get the backing off of my double-sided tape. Make sure your zipper is centered. If you're only cutting your zipper to the exact measurement she gives you, make sure you mark your center of your zipper tape. That is very important. Mine's a little longer, but we'll go ahead and do a tiny little mark. Since mine's a little longer, I could just kind of center it based on how it goes over. But you just want to make sure this is center, so your zipper is not too short on the one end or the other. My pen is not wanting to write. There we go. There we go. Got it. All right. Now you can also mark the center of your piece as well. And then that will just help you place your zipper a little better. All right. So you're going to line your edge of your zipper tape to the edge, straight edge of your mid gusset piece. Make sure you try to keep it lined as best as you can. If you don't line it well, it can cause a wavy zipper like that. See, the right sides together. Okay. Now I'm going to take my lining piece and I'm going to put it right over top. I'm going to put right side to wrong side of the zipper tape. And it's going to be, you're going to make what some commonly refer to it as a zipper sandwich. So just line it up with your exterior piece. That's how I do it. I just kind of line it up and center it out like that way. And then make sure it lines up with the end of the zipper tape here. Oops. Like that. So there's my lining. Now with this kind of lining, it's hard to tell what's the right side and the wrong side. It's a water resistant canvas. But if you're using something that, you know, definitely has a right and a wrong side, this will be your right side of your lining. And then you're going to have your zipper tape the wrong side up. And then your zipper tape will be right side to right side of your exterior. All right, I'm going to change out my back foot of my, And then we're going to sew this on at the seam allowance that she gives you when you sew it all together. So there it is. There's it sewn together. Then what you're going to do is you're going to pull your lining out. Just kind of give it a crease. Like that. And then you're going to pull your exterior piece out as well. And you're going to line these up like this. So they're wrong sides together. Let me grab some clips. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip these pieces like that together. And hold it all together as one. And that helps when you do your top stitching. It helps keep it in together. Okay. So I've got this clipped together, and again, they're wrong sides together, the exterior and the lining. And then I'm going to top stitch all the way around this piece. So I will start here where I can back stitch and hide my back stitch. And then I'm going to go up, around, and back down. And this is going to be top stitch, so it'll be 1/8 of an inch. Now, when you do your top stitch here on your zipper tape, just make sure that your lining is pulled back away from the tape, and as well as your exterior. Of course, don't pull too hard, because that's when you will get a wavy zipper if you try to pull it too tight. Just make sure you don't have, it doesn't fold up into the zipper teeth and things of that. Oops, starting the wrong way. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start on the raw edge. Okay, this is what our zipper gusset, or our mid gusset piece looks like right now. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side to where it's completed, until this is going to be on this side like this. It'll look like that once completed. So I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. And then once I get that completed, then I will install my zipper pulls. But I am not going to stitch over the teeth just yet until I get my zipper pulls on. So I will go ahead and get that all taken care of, and then I'll be right back once I get this all done. All right, there you go. So this is the completed mid gusset piece. All right, let me clean up some threads a little bit here. Just make sure threads don't peek through once everything gets sewn together. I just like to do that. All right, so this is what everything looks like right now. So I'm going to go ahead and install my zipper pulls, going from one end, each end. That way they'll meet in the middle, and I'll have that nice little double zipper pull, which there we go. There's my zippers. And then I'm going to clean these ends up. And then once you snip into your zipper tape, always try to do a quick little singe on the ends. That helps your zipper tape from fraying. Or you can use fray check. That's totally fine if you're not into using liners. Fray check would work just fine. Just make sure you do something with the ends so your zipper tape doesn't unravel. All right, so that's that. Now I am going to grab my where they go? These little side connectors. They're in here, I promise. I just got to locate them. There they are, hiding in the corner of my little bin. All right, so side connectors. So on your side connectors, you're going to do the exact same thing. You're going to mark the centers of your side connector pieces, fold them in with the long edges touching, and then once you do that, you're going to place your D-ring. Now I do, and then you're going to sew the end, hold them shut. And what that does is that holds it, so when you place it on to your mid-gusset piece, it won't try to open and interfere with you trying to install these or sew them on. Now, just something to note, they will have thickness. This will be sewn here, but you also will have another piece going over this as well as folding. So this can get very thick. So keep in mind your materials when you choose your side connectors, because again, it's going to get very thick in this spot here. I can go ahead and do it. I have a very good industrial, so I'm okay to use this thicker material to do this. So once you have your little side gusset connectors ready to go, go ahead, and what you're going to do is you're going to, where your zipper teeth are, you're going to center this with your zipper teeth. So make sure it's centered like that. I'm going to just push it just a tad bit over, not very much. I mean a very tad bit. And then I'm going to put, you can put a clip on it. You can use double-sided tape. I'm just going to throw a little clip there to hold it. And then I'm going to baste this on. So there is one of your side connectors. Again, it's centered, and I started stitching on it in like almost in the middle, and then I went like a couple stitches forward and backwards so it doesn't shift this piece. So I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. All right, and then there's that, and that's for your crossbody. Now, just if you want, you do not have to do, if you don't want to turn this into a crossbody, you of course don't have to. So you could eliminate this and not worry about the thickness if you choose just to make it a little handbag type of purse. All right, let's get those pieces out of the way. All right, now we're going to complete the gusset, and I will go over this slowly so it's easy to understand in case you've not done a gusset like this before. So I'm going to grab my side gusset pieces. I have, oops, 2 linings and 2 little side gusset pieces. I'm going to mark the centers of each of my side gusset pieces. I'm just marking the centers on the exterior side gusset pieces. Okay, and then I am going to take one of my exterior side gusset pieces, place it right sides together, and I am going to center that little point to my zipper tape. That's what I use, is my center point is my zipper tape. Make sure you've got it nice and centered, and then we're going to go ahead and clip it on. And I just clip from the center out. Well, we didn't need to use all these clips just yet, but that's okay. All right, so then what you're going to do is take one of your lining pieces, and you're going to match right up, and you're going to put it right sides together with the back side, the underside of your mid gusset piece, where you can see the bottom of your zipper tape. You're going to line these up together, and you're going to sandwich your side gusset pieces with your mid gusset piece. I'll show you here once I get it nice and clipped what we got. Whoops. So you've got your lining, your mid gusset piece, and then your exterior gusset. Let me say this again. Your exterior side gusset, your mid gusset piece, the completed mid gusset piece, and then your lining side gusset piece. That's probably the best way to explain it. All right, so we're going to sew this on at the seam allowance that she gives you, straight across. And just again, if you're using that, using a side connector and you've got that extra bulk, make sure you use like a hump jumper or a piece of something. So when you get to that, it will go over it a little easier rather than trying to push it over and then skipping stitches and you end up with like a gap in your piece trying to get it on that bump there. Okay. So now you got that. And then now what you're going to do is you're going to pull these wrong sides together, just like you did your zipper, your mid gusset piece here. You're going to put these together, pull your lining, make sure the lining matches up. The raw edges of your lining matches up with the raw edges of your exterior. And I'm going to clip this in place to hold it still, keep it all together. And then we're going to top stitch the up here. We're going to top, whoops, let me make it, you can see it better. We're going to top stitch here. This is going to be the exposed. And then you're just going to baste around the raw edges to hold it in place. So we're going to go ahead and complete that. And let's see, I'm going to start on the side so I can hide my back stitch. So that's what it looks, whoa, that's what it looks like when it's done. Side gusset piece, lining piece, and you got that nice finished edge there. I'm going to do the exact same thing on this side. I'm going to match my center of my side gusset piece to my teeth on my zipper tape on the mid gusset piece. I'm going to put a couple clips to hold it in place till I get the lining piece on. Then I'm going to take the lining, match it up, make a little sandwich type of deal with my mid gusset piece as the, guess you could call it the meat of your sandwich. Sometimes things do pop in my head. Maybe it'll help you out, maybe not. So we got that all sewn together. I'm going to stitch it on, top stitch, baste it all together. And then we will have our, we'll work on the lining once we get this all completed. All right, so this is my gusset piece now. Piece is now completed. I have the back. Everything looks really nice in the back. And then this is the front. All right, so now we're going to work on the lining. So let me set that aside. We're going to grab our lining pieces. So we're going to grab one of our lining pieces. And then we are going to grab the slip pocket. Well, this is the zipper pocket piece. That's not what I wanted. Give me a quick second here. Zipper pocket. We want slip pocket because that is the next, that is before the zipper. We don't want to go out of step. I try really hard to stay within the pattern, the way it's written, the steps. I try. Sometimes I don't. I get all confused. All right. Now, I'm going to grab my slip pocket piece here and my slip trim. On your slip trim piece, you're going to mark the center of your slip trim, and then you're going to put some double-sided tape on each long edge of the slip trim. Make sure your trim piece is made with a non-fraying material because this will be left as a raw edge. So then what I'm going to do, now she has you, this is how she has you do it, but I do mine just a little different. But what she has you do is put these wrong sides together with the fold it up on the short edge, right sides together, and then stitch each of the short edges and then turn it right side out. Keep using this being open. I do it just a tad bit differently. And so I'm going to stay to the way I do it. This is the one thing I'm going to go out of the pattern to do. I'm And if you want to do it this way, that's perfectly fine. I'll tell you how I do it. I'm looking for, there it is, my pen. Depending on what your seam allowance is for the way they sew it. If they have you do it this way in the pattern, depending on what the seam allowance is, that is where I go in. I take the seam allowance times 2, and then I go in that far and draw a line. Make sure if you draw a line, it's not something that's so thin. When you draw a line, it shows through. Like if you use an ink pen on something this light, it will show. Since this is air erase and it's light, I can still draw the line, and even if it doesn't completely go away, it'll be okay because this pen is not that dark. I am looking for the seam allowance. Give me just a quick second. I'm sorry. There it is. All right, so I am multiplying the seam allowance times 2, and I'm drawing a line on each side of the long edge. I'm going to put some 1/8 of an inch double-sided tape on the long edge of the pocket. I just like doing it this way because I think I get better, crisper corners doing it this way. There are people that can make beautiful corners and sewing it and keep a good corner. And I just, for some reason, I just never like my corners when I do it that way. But this way, I know I can get a good corner. All right, and then I'm going to take and remove the backing off of one of the sides. And I'm going to fold this long raw edge to the line that I just drew. What that does is that gives me that seam allowance that is in the pattern, because I'm going right to that line, and I'm only folding over the actual seam allowance, like that. Boom. See? That is how I do my slip pockets. So I'm going to do that to the other side. I can get my tape to release from my backing. There we go. My line is starting to disappear, so let me do this real fast. All right. So there's my slip pocket, and there's the front. So you've got the nice folded edge right there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and fold this wrong sides together, meeting the short raw edge. I'm going to throw a couple clips right there to hold it shut. I'm not going to clip it at the very top because that's where I'm going to put that trim piece on there. But once I put these clips in here, on this here, I'm going to take my flathead screwdriver, and I'm just going to kind of go in. Let me see if I can do it this way. I'm just going to go in. Just make sure, of course, you don't have materials that you have to worry about it either stretching or tearing. But I'm just going to go in and flatten that out to give you that nice edge. And then I'm going to put a clip on it to hold it like that. And I'm going to do that to the other side. It just flattens it out nicely, and I don't get any puckers. And then I'm going to hold it shut. And that gives me that nice edge. I'm going to do a crease. And then I'm going to baste that raw edge, and it just holds that top together for when I put that trim piece on. So I'm just going to do just a quick basting stitch along the top. I'm not going to, you don't have to back stitch or anything. It's just basically holding this shut until I get my trim piece on. Okay. Like that. Now, because I have a piece that does have a directional print, I am going to put of course the up side in the front, and then in the inside of the slip pocket it'll be the upside down. If you're the type of person who has directional and you don't like that, you could always cut 2 pieces. Just when you cut your 2 pieces, allow for a seam allowance. For example, let's see, what is this size is this? So this folded up is 4 1/4. So the pocket is 4 1/4 long, folded, completed like this. All right. If you don't want to have an upside down piece like that on the inside, you can cut your piece 4 1/2, 2 pieces at 4 1/2 by the length of the pocket that she gives you in the pattern, and then sew that at a 1/4 inch seam allowance at the bottom, so you have your seam at the bottom of the pocket. And then what that does is that will give you that 4 by, I don't know what the finished size is lengthwise, but it'll at least, you'll have that 4 1/4, the actual size of the depth of the pocket. Okay, that's only if you have directional and you don't like an upside down print on the inside of your pocket. All right, slip trim. I'm going to take off just one side of my backing of my piece, keep my slip trim piece wrong side up, and then I'm going to take my pocket and line it up just under the line. Don't go right on the line, just be right just under it of the line like that, and then kind of give it a press so it sticks to the tape, and then release the top side and fold it over. Let's see. There we go. Now you can either make sure you meet the sides, or you can let the back be just a tad bit longer if you're worried that your trim piece, you're not going to catch the back of your trim piece. But what I do is I sew 1/8 of an inch up from the bottom first, and then I will sew 1/8 of an inch down from the top, depending on, because some designers trim pieces are a little wider than others. This one is one of the more narrow ones, but I still go ahead and do it that way. So I'm going to go ahead and top stitch again 1/8 of an inch from the raw edge, the bottom of the trim piece. Make sure you back stitch. And then I'm also going to sew another line at the top, 1/8 of an inch down from the top. I like that double stitch on the slip on the trim piece. I think it makes it a little bit neater if I do it that way. Of course, you can do it with just one if you like. And then you can just take your scissors and clean it up the edges of your trim piece like that. And then there you go. There's your slip pocket. All right. Now she gives you the measurements of where to place the pocket on your piece. She has you go from the bottom up. So let me go ahead. I'm going to put a couple pieces of double-sided tape on the side of this slip pocket to hold it still onto my lining piece. Just a little bit, just enough to hold it still. It's nothing crazy. I'm not going the full length of the pocket. I'm just putting just a little bit on each side. All right, and I'm going to find my center. I do not split this pocket. This is a smaller pocket. I don't split it, but I can tell you that I'm trying to mark my center. Here we go. I can tell you that this pocket is wide enough to drop a phone in it. So you don't have to put your phone in the base of your bag, but this pocket is wide enough that you can put a phone. And my iPhone that I have is the largest iPhone, and my case on my iPhone is one of the thicker cases, so it will fit that nicely. All right, let me get my measurement for how far up. You measure from the bottom up as far as the placement of it. So, I need to mark my centers of my lining piece. I forgot to do that. I need to hold it still with some clips because I will make it crooked. There we go. Okay, centers of your lining pocket. That helps you place your slip as well as line your bag up in the end. So I'm going to mark the top and the bottom, and then I am going to measure up from the bottom at the measurement she gives you. I need to find my center. There it is. There's my center, and there we go. There we go. All right, I got my center of my pocket. Let me get this tape off here to hold it still. There's my center. And I'm just going to line it up and place it on my piece. There we go. All right. And then what I'm going to do is you can, let's see. You can sew your slip pocket. You can either start from the top of your trim piece and sew all the way down over across and back up on here. Or you can, well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start just below the trim piece, and I will do a little back stitch, nothing big. Go down, and then I'm going to stop right back up underneath the trim piece, and then I'm going to put a rivet on the top of each side of the slip pocket. That's good. It reinforces the pocket, and it kind of makes, I like the looks of that myself. I got some threads I need to clean up, but other than that, that will help clean that up a little bit with a couple rivets on each end. And then I can do my little back stitch. I can hide my back stitching right below my trim piece. So that's what we're going to do. And then we're going to sew it on at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay. We're going to do that. All right, so there's my slip pocket with its cute little rivets. Make sure when you do the rivets that if you're doing double stitching, make sure you poke the hole between the stitching. Please don't cut into the stitching or everything will unravel. And then I always put something behind my slip pockets. Even if I don't rivet, I always put like a piece of either double-sided tape or just some leftover like EVA foam or whatever fleece, anything that's self-adhesive. I'll always cover up my stitching, beginning and ending. It's just a thing. I feel like it helps. To me, it makes me feel like it holds it a little better. All right. I'm going to grab my other lining piece. And then I'm going to get my my zipper pocket overlay, as well as my 2 pieces of my zipper pocket. Interior zipper pocket. Get my centers marked on my lining piece. I'm going to go over this quickly. And then I'm going to grab my overlay and I'm going to put some double-sided tape in my overlay. Like that. Oh, and I need some more tape, zipper tape. Let me get the size of my zipper tape. Okay. And I'm going to get my last zipper pull. There it is. Okay, zipper pull, zipper tape, zipper overlay, zipper pockets. There's 2 pieces of that and your lining. I'm going to measure down what she gives you from the top down. Get my ruler. What did I just do? There it is. Just make sure you've got your centers marked on your overlay as well, or just your center, just the center on the one. I typically just kind of fold it in half and hold it, get my placement of where it needs to be. Make sure you're straight. And then from that point down, and I do like to use a longer ruler, so that way I can just butt my overlay right up against the ruler. I'm only going to remove the backing from the top of the piece. I'm leaving the backing on the bottom right now. I'm going to center it up and place this down. And once this is stabilized and straight, I'm going to remove the backing from the bottom and then set that down. Just be careful that you don't distort the window of your overlay and the little window where your zipper teeth go. That way it doesn't look like your zipper is crooked or anything. Just kind of let it fall naturally. There you go. All right. So once you get your overlay on, you are going to sew around the exterior of the overlay only. All right, that's all you're going to do is sew just the exterior of the overlay, 1/8 of an inch away from the raw edges. You do want to pull your threads long and pull your threads through, especially if your thread, it does not match, it's like a contrast to your overlay. You do want to pull your threads through and tie them off. And then when you get back to where you started your stitching, you want to stop right on that spot. Even if you have to just do a hand crank to make sure you land there, that's where you want to land your needle. All right, so I'm going to go ahead, pull my piece out, keep everything together like this, grab them threads, don't let go, pull them out just a little longer, and then snip. Don't let go. I'm still holding onto my threads where I ended my sewing. I'm going to grab my back thread. All right, hold on to that, and then once you grab that, do the same thing. Give it a tiny little tug. Grab something to pull that loop through, and then pull your thread through. If you lose the thread, your ending thread piece, you may accidentally grab the wrong thread to pull through, and then you could end up with a missed stitch on your front of your piece. If you pull the other thread through that's already there, it will make your piece look like you skipped a stitch, basically. So I'm going to tie this off. I'm just going to do 3 knots. Nice tight knots. I'm going to snip it close to the knot, but not quite up against that knot. And then I'm going to take my, because I'm using poly bonded, or poly, I forgot what it's called. It's basically polyester thread. I can singe my threads. Don't do this if you're using cotton. And that'll just kind of seals those threads. All right. Now, once you do that, you're going to grab your scissors. You're going to cut the inside of that opening out. I'll show you here. When you do the cutting, you're basically just trying to open that up. You don't have to be beautiful on the back. It can be crooked, but you're going to snip just below that edge so you can't see any lining through that window. I'll show you here, and just be careful when you cut that you don't accidentally cut your overlay. You don't have to go all the way to your stitching or anything. Some people like to. You don't have to. Again, you just want to make sure it's hiding. You don't see your lining at all. So I will show you front and back once I get done cutting this window. Okay. So there's the front. See how it's completely open? You don't see any lining now. And then there's the back. It's not straight, it's not perfect, but you can see that it is past that little edge of the overlay. You can see just a little bit of the overlay, like that. All right, once you get that done, grab your zipper tape, put some double-sided tape on it, and you're gonna put your double-sided tape along the edge of the zipper tape, like that. So you've got your zipper tape on there, and then what you're gonna do is go ahead and remove just the top first, and you're gonna center this tape in this little window. So I've got my center here already marked, and this is a good, actually it's good lining where when I did my fold to cut my center, I still see that crease just a little bit. So I'm gonna find the center of my zipper tape, and then I'm going to place it in my window like this, and I'm just going to center the tape to the lining, as well as center the teeth in the window. And then once you get it nice where you want it, just press down at the top like that. See how we got that? And then I'm going to go ahead and turn it over, remove the backing off the bottom, and then set the zipper tape in the window like that. So now that is nice, it's nice and set, looks good. I'm going to grab my zipper pocket pieces. I'm going to put double-sided tape along both, just one, the top of both pieces on the long edge. Oops, that didn't tear very well. That way. I know a lot of people cut their zipper tape, but sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I just like to just tear it. There we go. Make sure this is on nice and snug, taped. All right, so now I'm gonna grab my lining piece. I'm gonna turn it upside down, the wrong side up, like this, and then I'm going to remove the backing of just one of my zipper pocket pieces, and then I'm going to place this, looks like it's upside down, but I'm going to take this, put where the tape is this end, and I'm going to line this up to the edge of my zipper tape, centering it on your piece. So I'm going to do a fold and make a crease to make sure I am centered with my pocket. Let's see. Make another crease here on this side, like that. There we go. And I'm going to line it up to the edge of my zipper tape. I mean, this does not have to be exact or perfect, but it does need to be centered as best as possible, because then when you close your pocket, it's not off center of your zipper. So you're going to place that down like that. So the bottom edge of your zipper pocket is going to be at the top of your piece here. Looks like it's upside down. It's going to cover your tape, and then you've got your top of your zipper pocket at the bottom of your zipper tape. All right, once you have that all set and placed, you're going to flip it right side up, and then you are going to stitch. Let me get something where I can point to it and show it a little easier. You're going to start about one stitch away. Whoop, let me do it that way. One stitch, start your stitching here, like one stitch away. Only go along the bottom of the window. And then you're going to stop one stitch away from the edge of the window. And then make sure your threads are pulled long, and then pull your threads through and tie them off. Again, one stitch before, one stitch after, only at the bottom of your window. Okay, so I'm going to get my threads pulled long. And once I do this bottom, once I sew this on, I need to check my bobbin thread. It's got to be getting low by now. So I'm going to check that once I get this on. So I'm going to sew this on here. I really should have my zipper foot on, but we're going to go ahead and do this. And you're going to be at 1/8 of an inch away from the raw edge. one more stitch, and then I'm going to stop there, pull my needle up, pull my threads long, keep them long, snip it off there, and then I'm going to pull my threads through, tie them off, check my bobbin, and I'll be right back. All right, we're back. The bobbin's checked. Everything looks good. Okay, now, because I'm using a water-resistant canvas, it's a little thicker, I'm going to put some double-sided tape just below my stitching, between the edge and my stitching, because you'll understand why here in just a second, why I'm doing that. If you're using cotton, you really don't need to do this. Cotton lays a little flatter. So I'm going to throw some double-sided tape here real quick. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take your pocket that you've got sewn, and you're going to take it and fold it down. And then you're just going to kind of give it a nice crease where the stitching is, like that. See how you got that? Like, I'm going to take my backing off, and that way it'll hold this piece down a little flatter. All right. And I'm going to just kind of flatten it out a little bit. So there is our pocket. So this is the, right here, this is the inside of your zipper pocket, like that. And then I'm going to take now the other zipper pocket piece, and I'm going to, where the tape is, I'm going to put it to the right side of this pocket here. Line it up at the top of your zipper tape, as well as making sure you're lined up to the edge of your zipper pocket. So this is lined up here, and it's lined up touching the top of your zipper tape, like that. So you see how your pocket is. There's your lining of your bag, and then here's your zipper pocket, like this. Okay, and then there's the tape there. You can see how it sets like that. Now, what we're going to do here now is see where the stitching stopped. We're going to start in that hole where the stitching stopped. We're going to go up that short edge, go all the way across the top, and then go back down. Just kind of line it up the best you can when you stop here, and then go down and then stop right back in that same hole right there where the stitching stops. And then again, you're going to pull your threads long and tie your threads off. Now, you notice my zipper's not on. I typically put my zipper on at this point before I do this final stitching. If you're not comfortable with that, definitely make sure your zipper pull is put on prior to even sewing this bottom stitch on. This is just my personal preference, that I like to put my zipper pull on now versus before I put that bottom stitch on there. Okay, that's one of the reasons why I make my zipper tape a little long. Number one, because I like that little extra, and number two, so I can put my zipper pull on. It makes it a lot easier. My zipper tape is hanging over once I do that. All right, now I'm going to start and then go up, down, around, and sew my pocket completely on. All right, so there's the thing. So the back, you'll see, I should have not done that just yet. I put tape there. So the back, you see the back starts there. You'll see that's what the back looks like. I just put tape over my knots and stuff. So that's what the back looks like. And now the front looks complete. Everything looks nice. The zipper's it's not too narrow in the window. Now what you're going to do, since this is a bound bag, you're going to sew this shut. First of all, you're going to clean up the bottom of your pocket. Make sure when you snip it, let me think here. I want to make sure it's not too short. Let's say, there we go. It's got to stay out of the seam allowance. That's good right there. So I'm just going to snip this up, or it's not snip it. I'm going to cut my bottom of my pocket off to make sure it does not get caught in the seam. It's a little crooked, but all right. So I've got my pocket cleaned up on the edge. So I'm going to turn it right side out. I'm going to take the side, pull it back a little bit to where it exposes my zipper tape and the side of my pocket. I'm going to stitch the side of the pocket shut. I'm going to go down the side, pull up the bottom, go across the bottom, and then pull up the other side back and go up this side as well. I'm going to go all the way around, completely closing my pocket. All right, and at this point, I'm going to clean up my zipper tape that sticks out at the back. I'm going to clean that up and then make sure my pocket doesn't extend down a little bit. I think I'm going to go ahead and clean up a little bit down here as well. Okay, and then I'm going to clean up my zipper tape with a different pair of scissors. And then I'm going to run the lighter along the edge of the zipper tape again, since I cut into it. Okay. All right, now we are on page 8. I know I haven't updated on page numbers, but we're now getting to the end. We're on page 18 at the bottom of page 18. Step 7. It's sewing the bottom of the bag. So we are going to lay this aside. See, the back is nice and closed. Everything looks good. I'm going to put my lining pieces together. We're going to sew the bottom of the bag. Let's see. All right, so let me get my base. I do need to still install my purse feet. Let me show you real fast before I install them what I'm doing. Let me grab my purse feet. They are in here. I promise that they are. So on your base of your bag, you'll still have your lining piece. You've not done anything with that yet. And then I have my base. Now I've got a nice firm base. You usually want to use like a Decaville Heavy or 2 layers of Decaville Light, or you could use 2 layers of the 1mm EVA foam. That should give you a nice firm base. Just make sure that it is not in your seam allowance, okay? So in her pattern, she gives you placement of the purse feet. So you don't have to do any measurements or anything. What I like to do for that is I like to, when I place the pattern piece over, if I grab an awl and I poke through the holes and mark the placement with the awl. Like that. Now, sometimes it's hard to see, but if you're just right in the materials, you can mark the hole, because this is a darker vinyl, so it's going to be hard to see markings. But see, if you look really close, you can see the holes, and that's where I'm going to punch holes for my feet. There are oodles of different kinds of bag feet you can get. You can get ones that screw in like this. You can get ones that rivet in, and you can get ones that have little prongs that instead of holes, you just make a slit and you slip your prongs through and then open them up. They've got those as well. It just depends on what's available in your area, as well as what you're comfortable with buying or using. I don't know if one's more expensive than the other. Honestly, I've never really priced it. I have used all 3 different types. I'm going to tell you, I kind of like these little screw ones the best. The only downside with these little screw on ones is you definitely want to use, let me find it. Where's it at? It's here. I know. You definitely want to use a, well, there it is. I was trying to find it. You definitely want to use a thread locker if you use screw-on purse feet, because these will come undone in your bag over time, and you don't want that, especially when it's a completely finished bag. The purse feet fall off, and then you're left with the hole in the bottom of your bag. Definitely get the thread locker. This is medium strength, which is like a semi-permanent one. They have one that is a permanent one. That's totally up to you what you want to use. But I got this off of Amazon. Really easy to find. Type in thread locker and you're good. This just helps keeps this from slipping and coming undone. All right. Now she recommends 5. I highly recommend 5 purse feet. I only did 4 on this one. It's not bad, but the 5 does look a lot better, and it helps to support the center of this bag. So I'm going to go ahead and get my purse feet installed. Oh, one other drawback. I do like these, but there is, you may want to throw in an extra piece of, like a piece of Decaville light, just a small little piece of extra Decaville light in here between your screw and your what you already have down, because this is a little bigger and it's got to go all the way into that. I find that you end up with play on your purse feet if you don't throw a little extra layer of something in between all of that, just to enforce that extra thickness, if that makes sense. So I'm going to go ahead and get these installed, and once my purse feet are installed, we will move on to the next step, which is step 51 is our next step. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get these on, and I'll be right back. I'm going to go do a pause so you don't have to fast forward through all this and watch me do it. So I'll just throw this on a pause, and then I'll be back when all the feet are installed. All right, I am back. My purse feet are on. Look at that. They look really good. Once I put my feet on, make sure you cover the screws or washers or whatever you use. Make sure they're covered. And I made sure this was covered with the same material as my base, because my lining is very thin. Okay? So once you get your purse feet on, you are going to get one of your panels. You can do the front or the back. Doesn't matter which one you want to start with. Make sure your centers are marked. So I'm going to mark the centers. I grabbed my front panel, and I am going to mark the top and the bottom centers of my front panel. The top will be needed at the end of the construction of the bag, so I'm just doing it all at one time. Typically you want to do this step before you start sewing things on it, so you just want to make sure it has been done. If you haven't, make sure you do it now. Make sure you grab the base, get the centers marked on your base of your bag. I mark the long and the short edges of the base. Okay? Again, if this step should already have been done, if not, this is the time to do it when you start to assemble. But it should be, honestly, you should really think about doing this at the very beginning, so it's not forgotten. All right, so all my centers are marked. I'm going to place the base of my bag at the bottom of my panel. I'm using my front panel, so I'm going to go ahead and line it up, and I'm going to clip this on. And I always start from the center and go out. And I just go back and forth is how I do mine. Okay, once you do that, You're going to sew this on at the seam allowance that she gives you. Oh, I'm sorry. I messed up. I apologize. You should not be doing that yet. My apologies. I messed up. First, you're going to take your lining and you're going to baste your lining on the base of the bag. Okay? So I'm going to go in and I'm going to go ahead and baste this on. Let me mark this. Hold this in place with just a couple of clips. I almost messed up. I'm glad I looked back at the pattern again. So I'm just going to put a couple clips in the, well, if I can hold on to the clip. Hold this in place and baste all the way around the sides, all 4 sides of this, so your lining is on the base of the bag. All right, so now my bottom lining, the lining on the, let me start that over again. The base of my lining is sewn on to the base of my bag, like that, okay? Very important. Now, let's do this all over again. We're going to clip our base now, right sides together with our bag. I'm going to clip this on, going from my centers out, like I just did. And now you are going to sew this on at the seam allowance that she gives you. Okay. Now, I would sew this with the base up because what I have found is the purse feet will interfere, can interfere. And if I sew with my base up, I can, when I get to the feet, I can tilt this up just a tad bit to release the pressure off the feet, where it's really trying not to push on the foot. Now, you also can change out your foot and use a skinny, narrow, or a zipper foot to help get past the purse feet. But I know if I do a little lift to give that extra space to hold this down, then I am okay to keep that seam allowance. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we're right back. All right, I'm going to get this sewn on, and I'm going to do the exact same on the other side. I am back. Now I've got my front panels both sewn to the base. Now I am going to grab one of my lining pieces. Now, depending on how you prefer your lining pieces to be, I prefer my zipper pocket to be on the back of my bag and my slip pocket to be on the front of my bag. I'm going to go ahead and start with the front of my bag, since that's the one I did first. Is you're going to take your lining piece, your straight edge of your lining piece, and you're going to line it up to your base, meaning you're going to be right sides together to your base lining, and you're going to make it a little like that, and you're going to line this up like that. Probably, let me think for a second. Yeah. I would honestly wait to glue it. Because you're going to be stitching down again, and you're going to have your glue might get in the way. So you can wait to do the glue part after you stitch your lining on, but before you baste your lining to around your bag. And I'll show you what I'm talking about here in just a second. So you're going to clip it with your lining piece right sides together with the lining of your base, like that. And you're going to go ahead and you're going to stitch this on the same line that you already stitched your base on. So stay consistent with that line. Yes, okay. So I would wait to do the glue. Definitely, because you're going to get glue. I'm going to get glue on my needle now, and I'm going to have to wipe my needle off, which is not a pain to wipe off, but you can still do that. All right, so we're going to stitch this on at the seam allowance. You're basically staying on your same seam that you stitched your base on. Ooh, the glue. The glue is setting up and it's getting sticky. Okay. Now I just now ran out of bobbin thread. When I checked my bobbin thread earlier, it looked good, but now I just ran out. So let me go ahead and change my bobbin thread, and I'll be right back with the next step. Plus, I'll need to wipe my needle off. I'll be right back. Okay, so I did that. Now, again, actually, I just kind of reread the pattern a little bit after I changed my bobbin. I did have you put the glue on too soon. You don't want to put the glue on until after you get your lining sewn on, and my little piece to cover my rivet is coming loose. I need to get that, cover that up. Well, sorry, I need to do this real quick. Anyways, you do not want to put the glue on until after you stitch this lining piece, the lining piece on. All right, so now's when you want to put your glue on. It's still a little tacky, so I am going to be good with what I have already on there. All right, so now I'm going to take my lining piece, fold it wrong sides together with my main panel there, and I'm going to kind of pull it tight to where it matches up. I'm going to take it and I'm going to match up my center like that, pull it to where it's even, and put some clips there to hold it in place like this. Nice and tight, and I'm going to go all the way around this, pulling it up tight to make sure everything is even, and it makes the lining a little tighter, as well as it pulls that seam up too. So you just kind of want to go ahead and work all of that up, making sure it is nice and taut, so when you base this on, it pulls up on that seam. The glue just helps hold it, and like I say, in time with the hold on. In time, it'll dry, and then it'll keep that seam upwards where it should be. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and clip all the way around. All right, so that's what we got right now. That's what it's looking like. So now what you want to do is you want to baste all the way around that edge. I am going to baste it from the front, because all the bulk there. I'm going to baste it, and let's see. I'm only sewing just around this edge here. I am not top stitching at the bottom. I guess you could if you really wanted to. I don't know that I would, because you don't want to top stitch on that. Don't do that. Just baste around the edge to hold your lining in place, because this is where you're going to do your binding. So we're going to baste this in place. All right, so there is what we currently have. Front panel, slip pocket, and then my base. And then we're gonna do the exact same thing to the back panel. I'm gonna place this right sides together with my rest of my lining, stitch it on at the same seam that we already have, and then I am going to flip it up, boom, like that, and then baste it on. So I'm going to go ahead and do all of that real quick. I'll just fast forward through it all, and then once we do all of that, when I'm completed, I'll be back, and then we will work on completing the bag. All right, so there we go. There is the panels, the front side of the bag, and then here is the inside of the bag. So this is your zipper pocket here in the back, and then you got your slip pocket here in the front. Now it is time to assemble the gusset to the bag and finish it off. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this I believe will make it a little more of a, what I would consider an intermediate bag by installing this gusset, because this is a little different of a gusset assembly than I was used to when I when I did the tester bag. I was able to do it. It's very tight, so you just got to go slow when you do the gusset. So what you're going to do, let me grab the gusset. Again, you got your centers marked on your gusset. You should have your centers marked on your gusset. I thought I marked them at the bottom. I did not. Shame on me. So I'm going to make sure the centers of the bottom of my gusset is marked. I'm going to make sure the center of the whole gusset panel is marked. I'm going to fold it completely in half and then mark the center of the whole panel. I'm going to put clips to make sure it doesn't unfold on me. So I'm going to go ahead and do all of that. Get everything centered and marked. It's very, very important. Okay? All these little pieces. Alrighty. You're going to get you a bunch of clips. So let me get my bunches of clips. And I want my good little metal clips because these are nice and tight. If I have any bulkage areas, that's what my plastics are for, because they open wider. These just don't open as wide as the plastics. All right. Bingo. All right. Now, wrong side out. You want to make sure at least one of your zippers are open, at least one of them. That will make it easier for you to unzip once you get it completed. So then what you're going to do is you're going to line your gusset up. Let's do it the right way. Right sides together with your bag. Grab your center, line it up to the center of the top of your bag. Put a couple clips there to hold it in place. All right, like that. And then you're going to grab the other side of the bag, get the centers, match those up. Again, you're doing this wrong side out. Gonna put a couple in here to hold that in place like that. So this is what we've got so far. Okay. Now what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your gusset and center it with the base of your bag. See, that's why it's so important to make sure your centers are marked. So I'm going to make sure my handles are nicely tucked. Oops, don't do this. See how my handle's sticking out, but I'm clipped? You do not want to do that. Get your handles, tuck them inside, reclip. If you do what I just did, boom, like that. All right. All your handles are inside, like that. All right, now let's go to your bottom of your gusset. Let's find the centers, clip that, like that. Boom. Other side, exact same thing, like that. As my dad would say, thusly. And since it's Father's Day, and Dad's not with us anymore, I want to let's say thusly in honor of my dad. It's how he always said when he was always showing us something when we were growing up. He'd always say thusly. Okay. Now, you will want to on your gusset make some snips. See how? Let me pull it back a little bit. There we go. Hold on. I got clips in the way. So. See how you've got that rounded edge? Well, on your gusset, you want to put just a few small snips 1/8 of an inch. Do not go more than 1/4. If you need to go a little more than 1/8, just a little bit more than 1/8. Just some snips around the edge here so this will ease in. You also, at the bottom, see how this is curved here? You're gonna go on the exterior of the bag and just put a couple snips here. You're gonna go snips on the gusset at the top, snips on the exterior of the bag at the bottom, because that's where your curves, you got to work in the curves. So your curves are here, your curves are here, okay, like that. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to make some snips on all of these points here, so that way I can easily work these in and everything lays nicely. I do about 4 or 5 just to be, if you have an extra one in there, it's fine. Don't go crazy. It just helps these ease in and it'll splay out a little better to work that curve. All right, so I'm working that. These are the gussets. Right now I am working on the gussets. Get my snips in there. That one's not a very big snip. All right, and then one more on the gusset, and then I'm going to snip into the exterior at the bottom and work that in. So now I'm going to the bottom of the bag on the exterior and I'm going to put just a couple snips in there. This I don't usually need as many because it's not as a wide of a turn. That. There we go. Okay, one more, well, a couple more snips, but one more side, and we'll be all, ooh, that one went a little deep. We'll be all right. All right, so now all my snips in. Now I'm going to go continue clipping around the bag. Now I'm going to tell you what I like to do, which I've already said it once, but I will say it again. I work, when I put my clips in, just getting that little extra bulk. When I put my clips in, I'll put some clips on each side here. I'll go to the top, work out the top on each side. I'll work more on the bottom. And I work towards the center. I work towards a center point. I don't just go all the way out like that. I will work at the bottom, I'll work at the top, and then I will meet in the center like here. To me, I feel like it eases everything in a lot better. It just helps out. To me, I feel like that's how I like to do it. I just thought I'd throw that little tip out there. So I'm gonna throw a couple clips here. So I'm clipping my camera. Let me get my camera up a little bit so you can see me clip, because I know how exciting it is to watch somebody clip. But I'm going to show you, because see, I've got a couple here. I'm going to put a couple here like that. Then I'm going to go to the other side like this and clip here. If I can get a hold of it to make sure it's nice and even. And then I'm just working my way out like this. And then I'm going to go to the bottom and I'm going to clip out from the bottom now, from the center where I already got those points. Clip that and then work. And that's how I do it. So I'm going to go ahead and get this completely clipped, where it is clipped all the way around the bag. And then once I get everything clipped, I'll show you the way it looks so you can see how it appears before we start sewing it together. All right, there she is. Look at that, all of those clips. So make sure you have plenty of clips. So it's clipped all the way completely around the bag. And then I've got one side of my zipper partially open. You could just open it all the way. It could make it a little easier to sew if you have your zipper completely open as well. Sometimes it's good to do your clippings with your zipper at least partially closed because it helps to stabilize a little more. It makes it easier. I'm going to go ahead and completely unzip this. That makes it easier to smush and go around it. There we go. And then what we're going to do is we're going to baste it first. Go 1/8 of an inch around the whole thing first. Highly, highly recommend it. I normally do not do that. Usually when I sew a gusset on, boom, I'm going at the full seam allowance. Even though a lot of people will baste, staple. Sometimes I'll staple depending. But baste it on this bag. Highly, highly recommend. Do your 1/8 of an inch seam allowance basting. If you are worried about these corners here, you can staple in these corners. I think I did in my tester bag. I'm going to try first to do it without stapling, but if I find it starting to slip, I'm going to get my stapler out and staple it to make sure that doesn't slip too much. I mean, it slips a little bit, it's fine. But if you're going 1/8 of an inch or more in slippage, you definitely want to unpick it and resew it, or it loses the cute shape of the bag. All right, so we're going to get started. I am going to start down here. Right here is where I'm starting. And then, again, 1/8 of an inch all the way around. Once I do my 1/8 of an inch, then I'm going to go at 1/4 of an inch around after that. Okay? Actually, I lied. I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me reread. Okay. So, in the pattern, she has you do the full seam allowance. That is on page 19, step 56. She does have you go the full seam allowance. Again, I will highly recommend you do 1/8 of an inch seam allowance on this bag before you go the full seam. Okay? Highly recommend it. Because you will be smushing, squishing, and otherwise totally misshaping your bag just to get it to go through. There we go. So I did all of that. I'm just put it all in fast forward motion. Doing this. So again, I did 1/8 of an inch-ish around the edges first. Then I did the full seam allowance. I had a couple spots where it slipped just a tiny bit. You may notice in the fast forward that I stopped and went and stapled my corners because it started slipping. If you can see, it slipped a little bit. Right, if I can show you, there we go. It slipped a little bit on these corners right here. Just a tiny bit. Nothing to be concerned about. It can be cleaned up. It's not going to affect the overall shape of the bag. The most difficult part is right here. This part is the most difficult part. This is where you need your patience, for sure. I would probably highly recommend, if you do have a stapler, I definitely maybe would go in and do some stapling. Now, what I'm going to do before I install my binding, I'm going to get rid of all these pieces of thread, making sure they're not going to peek through, out around my binding. I've got all kinds of little threads where I start and stopped and everything. I don't want it peeking through at all. Now, I do fold over elastic. That is my preferred way of binding. Alrighty. Alrighty, there she is. She's bound. I missed the spot. I fixed that. Now keep in mind, when you do some binding, sometimes if it's not perfect, it will be hidden. You won't necessarily see it. Now, if you are a type of person that's very particular with their, not that I'm not. Some things I can let go, some things I cannot. So if you have a hard time letting go certain things, I would highly suggest you use the other type of binding versus fold over elastic. I'm just going to say. All right, so now we're going to turn it right side out. Now, I need my hair dryer. I'm going to tell you what, that for years I kind of put off using the hair dryer, not years. For a while, I held off using my hair dryer, but I'm going to tell you what, I started using it in the last few months, and why I didn't before then, I don't know. It makes a huge difference, a huge difference. So get this going, just a little heat, not much. It just softens the vinyl a little bit, especially since the bottom piece is a little thicker than the sides. Just helps me to get it to pull through and turn it easier. There we go. How cute. I'm glad I went with the butterflies for where the zipper is. I almost used the green at the top of the bag, the spruce color at the top of the bag. I am so glad I didn't. So I'm just popping everything out and getting everything nice and cleaned up. Oh, how cute. All right. There we go. That looks good. Let's get this other side out. There we go. Just make sure everything's out nice, cleaned up. Go around your edges. If you need to go run your fingers around it, that's fine. Looks good. That side. I just kind of go and just do a little fold just to get that straightened out a little bit. But look at that cute, adorable little bag. Check it out. Zip it up. Oh, get a hold of the zipper pull. There we go. Look at that. Oh, how cute is that bag? Look at that. Isn't that adorable? I like that with that dark color on the sides and the bottom. I am so glad I did the butterfly at the print at the top instead of the green. I talked about it in my cutout video. If you didn't watch my cutout video, I was undecided, and at the last minute, I decided to go with that butterfly at the top. So happy I did. All right, I'm going to make the crossbody, but this is it. You'll see the bag in all its glory with my red bag together in the intro. So I'll have it all assembled with the crossbody and everything at the intro. So that concludes our construction of the Celine bag by Bloom and Needle. Go get your pattern today, guys. I have in my description, there is a link to click to purchase this pattern. I don't get anything for it. I just am happy to help her out and publicize her patterns for her, as well as I do have all of my materials listed in the description and the link where I purchased them. Again, nothing is gained on this. It's just simply my favorite products that I really like to use in making my bags. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. Adorable little bag. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your time. And everybody, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I would greatly appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel, as well as give me a thumbs up. Let's put it in there. Give me a thumbs up. That helps my videos. It gets my videos out to others by just simply subscribing and giving me a thumbs up. Give me a comment too. That helps me as well. A comment always makes it look like you are engaging with me, and YouTube likes that. So thank you so much, guys. Appreciate you watching. And yeah, it's an adorable bag. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.